There he is.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, buddy. Were you having difficulty trying to connect?
Yeah, I didn't. I was just trying to see how exactly to get connected on the live,
Yeah.
and then I just sent a request. Yeah,
Nice.
pretty simple.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah. It can be a little confusing. Well, good to have you, man. Good to see you.
yeah. Appreciate you having me on. This is great. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you, and yeah, I just appreciate the you taking the time.
Yeah, man. So, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Obviously, you're an NFL player, like 10K view for people that don't really know you. So, what people read about you? You were a former NFL player,
Yeah.
correct?
So yeah, I'm from a small town in central Illinois. I went to college at Missouri State University. I graduated there with a degree in hospitality and restaurant administration, a minor in marketing. From there, I got drafted to the Philadelphia Eagles. I played in Philly for 4 years. I played in Jacksonville for three. Played a half year in New England, half year in Detroit, and then a year in New Orleans. So I played 9 years NFL. And when I retired, I did some reality TV stuff. I went on The Bachelorette and
Yeah.
The Bachelor in Paradise, and pretty much caught up to where I am now.
Very cool. Okay. So yeah, let's get into it. By the way, I'm hearing a clicking noise. Is there
Oh yeah,
something?
yeah. There's I'll make sure that's taken care of.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
appreciate it.
because this is a podcast too, probably won't be too
Yeah.
bad now, but when people listen on the podcast, I can just see me if I was one of those people like, what the F is that clicking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, let's start with your NFL career. Playing in the NFL, man, that's pretty, obviously it's the number one game in the US. It's the elite. It's the top of the top. Is that something that you knew early on and, as a kid, like this is what I want to do? Or did you kind of naturally just start developing into somebody that should play football and you're like, all right, I'll go with that?
Well, I knew it was something I wanted to do. I was a football player, a basketball player, and a track athlete, and that all came natural to me. I was natural. You put a ball in my hand, I knew what I was supposed to do with it. Just always could play.
Yep.
And obviously, every kid growing up playing those sports wants to play professionally, but you don't think you'll have that opportunity. And from being from a really small town, well, I'm saying I'm from a small town. My town is 3,000 people. Dwight, Illinois. I graduated with 60 kids. We had to co-op with two other schools to make one football team. That football team only had 18 kids total. So we're playing offense,
Wow.
defense, special teams. Nobody ever went to college from my hometown. My brother, the year before me, got a scholarship offer to Missouri State University. He's a really good athlete. He played baseball, basketball, and football. When he went to Missouri State University, starts telling the coaches about me, and they end up offering me a scholarship. Go to Missouri State. At first, I'm an average player. I went in as a wide receiver, moved to tight end, and from there, it just took off. I was a three-time All-American, and scouts started coming around saying, hey, we think you're going to have the opportunity. And I worked extremely hard and was very
Yeah.
blessed to have that opportunity to get drafted and play.
Well, good for you, man. Yeah, right. I mean, I know if you're going to play at that level, the amount of work, because I've interviewed several professional athletes, including NFL players,
Yeah.
the amount of work and commitment, it's no joke. It is
Yeah.
no joke. But in a way, I feel like that's the best thing. It's almost like forced commitment, but obviously you're choosing that, okay, I want to do this. And then it's like you don't really have a choice. Like you got to go all in and you got to do the training and commit to everything that you're doing, the eating, working out, sleeping, all these things. But in a way, it's kind of good because you're sort of force trained to do a lot of these things that are good and healthy for you, and you're getting into good habits that hopefully would continue to stay with you beyond your career. Have you found that to be the case? I mean, obviously, you're not training at the level you were, but did you find some good habits that you were able to pick up from that?
Absolutely. Fitness and eating healthy, it stuck with me even after I'm playing. Now every day I'm making sure I'm eating my meals. I still have my nutritionist laminated copy of all the foods I'm supposed to eat to keep me healthy, keep me in shape, to keep me recovered. I'm still going to the gym 6 days a week. It's something that has stuck with me, and it just became a part of me. So my routine and my regimen, I took a lot of the good things from when I was playing football, and now I'm in some of the best shape of my life because I'm not taking those hits, I'm not getting those injuries, and now I'm just strictly doing the diet and the workouts, and it really feel great.
Yeah. So tell us about your right. So you kind of alluded to it. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your routine. Your routine. Can you go through a typical daily routine?
Yeah, first thing I do in the morning, I wake up and I make sure to go through. I have a specific routine I do for health and wellness. First thing I drink in the morning is some lemon water. I drink my Athletic Greens. It's a green supplement, and I make a breakfast: eggs, spinach, omelet. Make sure I get a nice, good meal in. For me, I'm still one of those old school guys that think breakfast is the most important of the day. I know now you got the intermittent fasting showing all the benefits, a lot of benefits from these different diets. But for me, I like to have a big breakfast with a good amount of calories, eggs, toast, spinach,
I was gonna say I didn't
broccoli.
hear any carbs originally. So you're good loading up. You're good with carbs in the morning, and
Yeah,
then do you taper off throughout the rest of the day, or do you just kind of, since you work out so much and are healthy, you don't really worry too much about the
I
carbs?
keep the. I still train really hard, so I'm still eating like an athlete. I'm eating carbs throughout the day. If I ever slow down on that, right now I'm training for a competition called High Rocks. It's a CrossFit type competition, a lot of running. I'm not a big runner, but I like to do things that, like in the David Goggins mindset, do something that sucks every day. Bless you. And
Thank you.
I hate running, so I'm looking forward to doing that competition just to push myself. But
What's the David?
carbs,
Let's
yeah.
go back to that real quick. David Goggins. God, I am not familiar with him, but and his philosophy is, did you say do something that sucks every day?
That's one of his main things. He always says, make sure you visit suffering. You do something that sucks every single day, and you'll
Hmm.
become better for it. He's all about callousing your mind like you callous your hands. When you don't want to do something, you push through it. You get a sense of accomplishment. I love lifting weights. So if I just go in the gym and just lift weights for an hour and a half, did I really accomplish something? Because I'm just doing what I wanted to do. For me, it's running, it's cardio, swimming. When I go and I do that stuff and I come through a grueling workout of that, that's when I sit there and I'm like, man, I'm proud of myself for that. And you give gratitude for being able to finish that workout, to do that, to do something you don't like that made yourself better.
I love it. All right, so yeah, let's talk about this for a second, because this kind of ties into some of the stuff that I try to help people with. So I agree with the result of discipline is one of these things that I'm always preaching how we've gotten really, it's becoming easier and easier to do less and less, which is ironically making us less happy. And I started this show, I don't know how much you were tuned in for, talking about how, like, we got all these streaming channels now. There's just too many choices. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you can literally get anything you want at the click of a button in this world, right? And that's only going to get easier and easier, right? So and we're wealthier than we ever were. So why are we less happy? I mean, we are. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, science has shown. I mean, there's all these reports: teen suicides at an all-time high, the World Happiness Report, the World Health Report. Our life expectancy is going down, and in my opinion, it's because we're taking the path of least resistance, right? And we're not doing the work that needs to be done for the things that'll actually make us happy. I like the analogy with the calluses for our mind, right? You got to like work, you got to do that. But I do think there's a way to do it without suffering. I should say, I guess there's a certain amount of suffering that is going to be done, but I feel like if you use that word, people just go, "Ooh, that doesn't sound good. I'd rather sit on the couch and eat Cheetos,"
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so what I try to do is sort of help people trick their brains into taking those actions. And then, as you know, habits are these things. They don't care if they're good or bad, right? They're going to compound over time. But once you got them, you got them. But if you got a bad one, it's locked and loaded, and it's working on autopilot against you. And so the idea is, okay, you got to do the work to get rid of that bad one and replace it. And I like to use little methods such as, like, by gamifying it, which is kind of the way that I do it, using stuff like rewards and competition and social connectivity and
Absolutely.
habit stacking and points, and just ways to kind of trick your brain into being like, fuck yeah, let's do this, right? And then once it's a habit, you're good to go.
Absolutely. And like it's like the distraction method, It's like people that don't like running, maybe I'll tell them, go play, have your Apple Watch on, go play basketball for 30 minutes. Tell me how far you ran. You know, how many sprints you did. Like, oh wow, I ran 2 miles. You just told me you couldn't run 2 miles, you know, on a treadmill. You know, just something like that. You know,
That's
distraction,
right.
trick your brain, and you end up getting the
Technology, right?
same workout.
Technology. Yeah, sorry to cut you off. Yes, tricking your brain, and the Apple Watch technology is one of these things where, for the most part, it's still being used for. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm a you know, one of these people that's against technology, because I'm all for technology. But for the
Yeah,
most part, I feel like it's being used for bad versus good.
yeah,
In a lot of ways, right? Like social media and Google, they're tracking us, you know, and we end up, like social media in particular, you know, they're using that technology and that science and psychology of what they know hits our little dopamine
yeah,
brains and makes us want to keep going like little mice on a wheel. And unfortunately, that stuff isn't really, that's not making us happier. It's making us less happy. We compare ourselves. We're wasting all our time. We're spending a ton of time doing that versus proactive things in our life that will actually make us happy and these types of things. So my whole thing is, right, like Apple Watch is a perfect example, using that tech and that psychology and science to tap into these parts of the brain, like our competitive nature. Like you said, you
yeah,
know, you got your Apple Watch, you're like, oh man, almost there. Like I can do it. Like I just need you know, 20 more minutes of cardio, or I need blah blah
yeah.
blah. And it's like all of a sudden you're taking actions you never would have, right?
Absolutely, and that's what I think you should is one of the actual good things that you can use it for. You know, social media, like you said, it's just a tough space. A lot of comparison, a lot of people putting together the best version of their lives, and then other people looking at that thinking, why is my life not like this other person's? Not realizing that they're just doing a better job of portraying that. You know, most of the time.
Totally, man. And right, and it hits certain, you know, when you're young and more impressionable, it hits you harder when you think, well, why isn't my life perfect? And it's so easy to, and everybody does it. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
you and I'm sure if we looked at each other's pages, are guilty of it. Although I'm like really trying to, speaking of discipline and commitment, trying to get some ugly stuff out there. Like, you know,
yeah,
like me in the morning, just looking like crap, like doing a video and being like, look, I feel
yeah,
like shit today, you know. And that's ironically, that's what people want to see more than anything. People don't really want to see that fake stuff anyways, but yet we can't help. It's kind of like a trainer. You
yeah,
can't not look at it, but
yeah,
it doesn't make you feel good. And you get this like, why isn't my life like that? Right. And then you
yep,
scroll through. And then the other side of it is I am starting to see, you know, like I was saying, you know, you got the Apple Watch. Peloton is another good example of a company
yeah,
gamifying your health, you know,
yeah.
making it fun and exciting. People are like straight up addicted. That thing has taken the world by storm, and they're addicted. I mean, we don't have one, but people, my wife has a version of it, but not the real deal.
Yeah,
But I mean, like all of our friends are like, oh, I can't wait to get back on my Peloton. It's like, yes,
yeah,
that's
very competitive too, because
right.
you got buddies that, you know, you get each other's names and then you ride against each other. You're looking what output your buddy put in, you're looking at what output he put in. You're saying, okay, I can beat that one. I can beat that one, and it gets people working. I really like what Peloton's done. Not happy with their stock a lot at the moment, but
I
Peloton
know.
as a
I own some
whole,
of their stock too.
yeah,
I think it's a cyclical thing where, you know, supply chains down and uh, sorry to get off topic, but just real
yeah,
quick with this, because I own the stock
yeah,
too, and anybody that owns their stock,
yeah,
you know, they're not able to sell as many as they want. So that's a good problem to
yeah,
have, but it's still a problem, right? So
yeah,
that means that their profit's going to suffer and stuff. But once that stuff passes, and the question is how long that's going to take, you know, I think that they've got a lot of room to run, but
yeah. I
you know
think so
that could be
too.
another year or so. I mean, especially if this Omicron starts
Yeah,
flaring out.
absolutely.
So I'm just going to hold it. I'm not buying anymore.
Yeah,
I'm not selling. I'm just going to hold
yeah,
it.
definitely holding.
But yeah, totally. Peloton, yeah, and like gamify and doing these things, right? That you kind of are like, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden you find yourself wanting to do it, and
Yeah,
that's the key, right?
that's the key. Absolutely, and that's it's like for me, the days that I don't want to do when I'm feeling like crap, you know, I wake up and like, man, I really don't want to. To me, that's the hard part. That's what people got to fight through. Those days when you go in there and you get a bad workout in, you went in there and you got it done. When you are struggling to get it done, go through the motions. Go in there and get the hour in. Go
Fake
through
it
the
till you
motions,
make it,
get
I
it
call it.
done.
Yep.
And then the days that you do feel good, obviously go push, have a great workout. But the days you don't want to go at all, and you might end up sitting on the couch and watching TV for that hour, go in there, go through the motions, and get it done. And that is what will make the difference in your health and wellness. The fact that the times you don't want to go at all, and you just went there and you got the bad workout, you went through the motions. I promise you, when you're done doing that, that's when you really feel really good about yourself.
That's it, man. That's
Yeah.
it. It's the law of compounding.
Yeah.
And I have this thing, I call it the equation of life, where it's your belief system plus your repeated actions plus time equals who you will become. So like you were just saying, if you're consistent and you keep taking those actions and they form the habit, and then it's like you're doing no matter what, whether you feel good, whether you feel bad, then you're going to head up this way. But the opposite, like saying, oh, I'm going to skip today. I'd rather watch TV or lay on the couch, then that becomes the habit. And then it goes that way. And there's all these tiny little habits we have in our lives. There's so many of them, and we're being run on autopilot, and we don't even realize it by a lot of them, right? Because our brain's trying to conserve energy. Like we literally have only enough room for a certain capacity. And so when we feel like we've got something, like, okay, got that one, it's on autopilot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our brain doesn't differentiate between bad and good habits.
Yeah, that's crazy how that works.
So do you feel like are you aware of the habits that you have, and are you consciously working on trying to replace bad ones with good ones, or is it more like just overall the type of person you want to be and you're trying to develop these types of habits that'll lead to that lifestyle?
Yeah, for me, the big change was, coming from such a structured environment, the regiment that we were put in, everything was laid out before you, a schedule at this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, every time of the year. 9 years in the NFL, 4 years in college, high school. This whole part of my life was basically laid before me. And I didn't have to make a schedule and in the off season, I made my schedule for my workouts, my meals, stuff like that. But during the season, during the training, the off season, everything is laid before you. So something I struggled with for a year after I'm done is routine and getting on a schedule. And it's habit forming. If hey, I'll just wake up whenever, you're tired now. You got to put the schedule up, and you got to say, I'm going to work out here. I'm going to do research here. I'm going to get some reading done here. I'm going to do my emails done here. And you got to have a schedule. And one thing that helped me a lot as well is goals. If you don't have a goal, a daily goal, a weekly goal, monthly goal, yearly goal, you got a big picture, and then you narrow it down into, like, you're looking at this little spot in a binocular or something. You're just looking at this little piece, and then it just opens up to the big goal. And goals are huge, and that's goals and a schedule are the two things that really helped me become more productive.
That's great. Yeah, I preach to the high heavens about goals all the time, and it's one of those things, getting on my soapbox. If one of my main missions in life is to help change the educational system, to make that part of what you learn in standard curriculum. It's amazing that it's not really. It's like, depending on where you go to school, depending on your teacher, but it's not like, like math and arithmetic and history and science that goals aren't. It's not like you have a class on goals. That's not a subject, and wellness for that being happy. Yeah. So, right. I want to get a lot of this stuff in there because goals are everything, man. Like I wouldn't have built my business, sold it, wouldn't be where I am. I even meeting my wife, like I had a goal. I actually wrote down a sheet. I read it in one of these books. I wish I could quote which one it was but I don't remember, years ago, like, hey, write down the person that you want to end up with, like the qualities that they have. And I did it, and within a year I met my wife, and she had
I'm gonna need to use that trick. My mom keeps texting me, calling me about having kids. I'm gonna write that down. Why not?
Well, because what it does is, when you do that, it's kind of an indirect goal. It's sort of like, okay, it clarifies exactly what you're looking for. Yeah. And then there's also the stuff I put on that it's like the must-haves and the must not haves I put on there, and it's sort of like, and at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, obviously, but it really helps to clarify, to be like, wow, this person's got the majority of the things that I am looking for.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a spotlight is shined on them versus when you're just kind of out there dating and just similar to like working out. If you're just out there working out to work out, you're not going to be nearly as effective.
Yeah, you got to have a plan. You got to know. You got to know what you're doing. When you got to know what you're looking for when you walk in that gym. Yeah.
All right, so this is a good segue. So let's get into dating. Let's talk about The Bachelorette a little bit. I did watch your season, man. I remember you very clearly.
Yeah.
And Rebecca's season in 2018.
Rebecca's season of Bachelorette. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how that was and how that came to be and what opportunities maybe you got afterwards that you've leveraged and used for good versus evil.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the Bachelorette was kind of a random thing. I was on injured reserve for the Saints, and a buddy of mine had went through the tryouts for the Bachelorette, and he had run into the casting people again, but he was dating a girl who's now his wife. They're like, hey, you should come go through the casting again if you're interested in coming on the Bachelorette. We'd love to have you. He's like, I can't, I have a girlfriend now, and I think I'm going to marry this woman, but I have a couple of buddies you might like, and he showed him pictures of me and a couple of our other friends, and they're like, oh, I like this guy. He's like, well, this guy plays football. I don't know if I have the time. And they were very open with the time. They helped. They didn't make me do all the stuff and normal people would do because I was so busy with football. And basically, I showed up to final casting, and they wanted me on the show, and it was a decision I had to make. I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? I ended up getting hurt. The funny part about it is I ended up injuring my wrist.
Right.
But next thing you know, I was stepping out of the limo of the Bachelor Mansion, and I was there for only like 3 episodes. I ended up breaking my wrist on the show, and it was unfortunate that happened. But everything happens for a reason.
So that's why you exited? I'm trying to remember. Is that what happened? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I got the group date rose, but then I had to make a decision between staying or going and get surgery. Went and got surgery because I still thought I had a couple years left in me in football. So then after that, I didn't get many calls, and they wanted me to come on Paradise. So I signed to do the Paradise right afterwards. And they came and they filmed the whole pre-episode thing where they showed what the guys have been up to since the show. Yeah. 2 days before the flight to Paradise, I get a call from the Buffalo Bills, San Francisco 49ers, and the New York Jets. They want me to come in for workouts before training camp starts. So I have to tell Paradise I can't come. I have to stay, rehab, work out. They're not happy, but the fact that I didn't go, fan favorite, ended up taking my place. A lot of people don't know that's the reason why he went on Paradise that year. His name's Grocery Store Joe, one of my good friends. Yeah, and he took my spot.
Wow.
And I ended up staying back and going and working out and training, and I ended up going to my workout with the Bills. They're like, you're healthy and in shape. We're going to sign you. We know what kind of player you are. This is 2019, 2 years ago. And running a route I ran a million times. I planted, cut, tore my groin. I was out for the whole season. And that's kind of how my career ended there after 9 years, was on a injury in a workout. But so from there, I was just rehabbing. I was trying to get back in, seeing if I could I ended up re-injuring it when I had another opportunity for a workout halfway through the season. I'm just like, man, I missed the whole year. And then didn't get many calls the next year, so I decided to go back on Bachelor in Paradise. They were asking me to come back on again. Did that, and that was after Paradise. That was the end of my Bachelor career.
And how did it end up on Paradise? Did you end up meeting somebody? I can't remember. I think I saw that.
Yeah,
I've seen some of those.
I ended up dating a girl for a couple of weeks, but we didn't leave together.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So is that? Yeah, you're actually the first. Are you? Yeah, I think you're the first Bachelor person I've talked to, because I've interviewed several Bachelor, Bachelorette people that did Bachelor in Paradise. So how is that different? That experience different from The Bachelor?
Paradise is a lot different because you're all just kind of like on the beach. You're sweating the whole time, but it's cool because you get more of a chance to, I feel like, to meet someone authentically. It's like the Bachelor and the Bachelorette are very it's just you're never off camera. In Paradise, you get to spend more time with someone, and in the Bachelorette, you probably spend a couple days total by the time they're wanting somebody to propose. In Paradise, you have it's like in dating, right? Maybe you start dating someone, you see him
Yeah.
for a Saturday night for a few hours, and then maybe next week you'll see him on a Wednesday, and then again on a Saturday if you really like him. Paradise, I mean, you wake up at 7 a.m., you're with this person till you go to bed at 1 a.m. And this is a lot of time. To the first day, you're covering basically the first month of dating because you have nothing until you don't have a phone, you don't have a TV, you don't have a music. So but you're forced to communicate. It's just almost
Again,
like
it's like we were talking about earlier with that forced good habits, right? So like,
yeah,
we were talking about with working out, like when you were in football, you was like, you had that regimen and it wasn't a choice, like you had to, but it developed those habits and then they stuck. And you said you struggled a little bit when you got out, but you were able to pick it back up. And similar in relationships, I mean, communication's everything. And so we were just talking about how to meet somebody, but then when you meet somebody, you gotta have goals there too. And you gotta have strategies, and you gotta have, to me, there's these 5 core areas of life. You've got the mindset, you've got your career and your finances, you've got your relationships, you got your physical health, and then you've got your emotional health and giving back. And that relationship part, you've got different types of relationship, but your significant other, it's huge. And if you marry somebody, obviously you're spending a lot of time with this person, and you need to be able to communicate. And so, yeah, that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it that I hadn't thought about. Bachelor kind of forces that. Like,
yeah.
no TV, no distractions. Like, you just got to get to know each other.
And I think the problem is coming off of that, because you're there and you're forced to be in there. It's like you got to keep that because there's nothing. The only entertainment you have is literally getting to know this person and them getting to know you. There's nothing else you can do, which honestly I liked. I thought that was probably the best part about it because I thought you could really do a good job of just focusing on that person, that relationship. And then afterwards is when it gets hard for people. And that's why you see a lot of the relationships end in a not so great manner, unfortunately.
Yep. And it's ties into one of these principles in life, and kind of like we were talking about earlier with technology. The world is becoming easier and easier to do less and less. It's also becoming easy. That includes dating and getting to know people, right?
Yeah.
Like the swipe. I just missed the swipe. I met my wife about 10 years ago, and I think that what's that main one that started
Tinder.
it all?
Tinder
Came about, right? Now there's a zillion variations of it.
Be
and
thankful.
I remember being like, oh, I mean, obviously I was but I was like, oh, that would have been, I wonder how that would have been when I was single. Like, what a great, easy way. But now that it's kind of played itself out and people have seen, like, the reality of it is, I think a lot of bad habits develop from what I've heard.
Terrible
people
habits.
Use it, right? That they are like, one of the things for guys is it's like, oh, like if it doesn't work out I'll go on a date with her, and if she doesn't put out or whatever, there's 8 million other girls I can swipe through, that type of stuff.
That's the thing. It makes it so easy to say on to the next person. So it discounts your connection with one person because you say, oh, whatever, this one doesn't work out. Guess what? I'm on to the next person. All I got to do is swipe a couple times, go on another date, meet another person. Girls too, though. The amount of attention social media brings to both men and women just makes it so easy to discount each relationship. You're getting attention from all these other places. You don't care as much about the attention you're getting from the significant other, the person that should matter. And it's tough because you go on a date, you think you like someone, hey, on to the next. And it can lead to other problems. Like some people can only stay in relationships for a month or 2 months because now they're used to the
grass is always greener syndrome,
grass is always
right?
greener, yeah. So it's become
and
difficult.
the grass and there's a lot more grass around. It's like that. Remember that show? Did you ever watch Temptation Island, like way back in the day? Are you familiar with that?
On. Yeah, that's actually.
It's back on. Yeah,
they brought it back. Yeah.
But it's like, right. And it's kind of going back to your background of coming from a small town, and you go back 100 years, 200 years. It was like your options were the
people in
people
your
that
tribe.
lived within a mile of you.
Yes,
It's like that was it.
yes.
And in a way, maybe that was a good thing. Again, it's that double-edged sword. It's like, yes, it's nice to be able to have the whole world to see, but
Yeah.
we're not using it's nobody's mastered yet how to use that technology responsibly to not have the problem that we just talked about.
Yeah, definitely. And like my friends that are, single, me being a 35-year-old single man that, has, got successful, all this stuff. And it still makes it still difficult to find a significant other. It's interesting how that stuff ended up playing out. At first everybody was so excited thinking it would lead, but I have had friends that have met people and significant others on the apps. They found their husband, their spouse on
Yep.
the apps. So
My sister
I've seen both.
met through that. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Right. It can definitely work. Right. I think somebody told me one time that, I'm trying to think what the exact quote was, but like it ties into the grass is greener. When you have a lot of options, it makes it a lot harder to commit. And some people they've got that never ending, like, well, why would I settle with this person when I could have 800 million? But at some point in your life, and you're 35, I met my wife at 35, by the way. So you're
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
And at some point you go, okay, well, do I want kids? Do I want a family? Is that what I want? And it doesn't have to
Hmm.
be. To me,
Yeah.
you don't have to have that to be happy. But if that's in your soul and that's something that's a core value to you that you do want, then then you got to sort of look at the fact that you could easily and somebody like yourself, good looking guy, been on a show, like obviously you're not going to be wanting for dates, but finding the right one and sticking with it and knowing not to get distracted. Again, maybe try that list, might help you.
No, I'm definitely going to try that because hearing how it worked for you, that's I'm a big proponent of that, the goals list, and I've never thought to use it for that purpose, and that's definitely something I'm going to do.
And it's like all of a sudden, right? Then so do you? Speaking of dating, what is your dating life? What are you currently doing for dating?
I've started seeing someone. It's been an off and on thing, but yeah. So right now I'm seeing someone. There's no titles or
Yep,
anything like
still
that,
new.
but yeah, still new. But yeah, there's definitely uh, a good thing there that I think
Okay.
could blossom.
Yeah, well, you can still make your list, and then you can see, does this person fit into it? Not to be
Yeah.
a home wrecker, and all of a sudden you go, well, wait a minute, this person. But it's something that everybody should do. I read that so long ago, and I've talked to multiple people that have done that, and it's worked for them the same way it's worked for me. So
if I have to move on after making the list, I'm just gonna blame you. So
just show this clip, be like, look, see, he's only doing it. But right at the end of the day, the big ones coming from somebody that's been in a relationship. It's only been 10 years. It's not like it's been 50 years. But
Mhm.
I can tell you that the thing, when you first meet somebody and you're in that puppy dogs and ice cream stage and you're in lust, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, you want to have that spark with that person, but that's not that super strong. I mean, it's science. Chemicals, they wear off, right? So, but you still want to have that attraction and whatnot. But what's then really important is the big ones, like your values and how you see the world, how you see money, how you see religion, politics, wellness, how you're going to raise your kids, like those things. If you don't pay attention to them and you're just like, oh, this person's hot and we have fun, and then you get married, those are the ones that end in divorce when you realize, wait, we have zero in common and we see things completely different.
Yeah, I think that's probably a reason why the divorce rates are so high, and that's one of the reasons I'm actually happy that I've waited this long, because if I would have gotten married at like 22, 23, I'm just not the same person. I don't have the same values I did back then. Even 23, 24, 25. Totally. I mean, I feel like 10 years ago, I've grown so much in those years since then. I mean, it's like I don't know what I would have been looking for at that point compared to what I'm looking for now.
Well, right. I mean, I don't know if it's a universal principle. I call them total truths, these things where I've like read them enough times and I've personally experienced them in my own life where I'm like, you can hang your hat on this principle. It's been around since the beginning of man. It's going to be around until we destroy ourselves. Like, this is what you want to base your life and your habits around. And I'm not 100% sure, but my uncle gave me a piece of advice many years ago when I was in my young 20s. And he said, do not, whatever you do, under any circumstances, get married before the age of 30. And I now know what he was talking about because I didn't. And I always remembered that advice. And when I look at some of the girlfriends I had in my 20s and who I was, just like you just said back then versus who I am now, there's no way it would have made it. I was a completely different person. I hadn't fully formed, I guess is one way to look at it. And it's like, okay, now I'm the person that I want to be, but when I met Meg, and I know clearly who I am, where I want to be, what I'm looking for. And that makes all the difference in the world. And I think for guys especially, it's hard to do that before the age of 30.
Yeah, I agree.
But it does. Some people do it. My wife's got a twin sister and they got married before 30 and they're going strong. So it's not like it's not possible, but I think it's a good rule of thumb.
My brother married his college sweetheart. I'm going out there to see my niece's first birthday tomorrow, and they were college sweethearts, a year older than me. The brother that got a scholarship to Missouri State, and they have an amazing relationship. They both pushed each other and have similar stories. They both came from very underprivileged places, and they both have great jobs. They have a big house, white picket fence, 3 kids.
Sounds like their core values were in line, and that's
very much so. And they've changed and grown together, which was been really great to see for me because I mean we all lived together. It was us 3, in college, So
right, that's very cool. Yeah. All right, well we're wrapping up to the end here. And I'd always like to kind of end with this question, and then, I'll let you, say anything else you want to say. Is there one habit above all else that you feel that you've developed that has really propelled your momentum and your success in life? Have you always had it, or is this something that you had to develop yourself? And then I'll have a follow-up question after that.
I'll say to me, the most important, and it's you've alluded to it, but I think that without a question, discipline is the most important, thing for everybody. And I mean, obviously you can use discipline in a lot of different ways, but when you don't want to write the paper, you don't want to finish the book, you don't want to study, you do it. When you don't want to work out, when you want to leave the gym early, you stay and you do it. To me, I've always been able to have this discipline, whether it's, growing up, college, football in the NFL, to where I wanted to be the first guy in the weight room every day. I wanted to be the last guy to leave. I'd watch film at the facility. So the coaches walk by, they say, oh, Clay Harbor's in that room. And that's how I kind of built this persona of who I wanted it to be. The coaches were asking me questions. I'm going to go and I'm going to look at I'm going to go knock on the special teams coach's door. People are treating the special team coach like a stepchild or something. I go, I'm a guy that I want to stay in this league. I'm going to be able to take care of my family, take care of myself so I can do the things that I want to be able to do someday. Things I did, just going the extra mile and just staying disciplined was always something I could do. And then goal setting, we talked about that as well. Setting goals and having a schedule. Because if you don't have a schedule, you're just going to go wandering around your day. If you're not forced to a schedule, and then setting goals, you're not going to know which way you have a ship. You're sailing. You have no destination in mind. You're just randomly going around the ocean wherever the current takes you. Have a goal, weekly, monthly, daily, yearly goal.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that, because those are 2 super, super duper important things that I also stress on people. And as I said, I think we're living in a world where it's becoming harder and harder to do these things. And but that is happiness, right? So if I could describe happiness in one word, one sentence, it would be you just need to always be growing. And you need to figure out what it is that makes you happy and that you're passionate about and love, and just continually taking those actions towards that, regardless of what that looks like. Some are going to be fun, some aren't. But that's where my gamification stuff comes in, where I kind of try to help people trick their brains into doing it so that they're doing, and it doesn't really feel as much like work. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, you got that habit set. It's now building momentum and helping you in the background of your life on autopilot.
Yeah. Progress equals happiness. I 100% agree with that.
And is there, speaking of gamification, is there anything that you do? And when I say gamification, look at it in terms of, like I said, like anything that helps reduce the friction to make it easier for you to want to take those actions, with either setting goals or with the discipline that comes to mind that you think you use as like your own little personal habit hack?
So for me, what's come easy to me is like a lot of the gym stuff. I'll listen to a good podcast while I'm in there. You don't really think about the sets you're doing, the squatting. I'm listening to a good podcast. Makes the time pass.
It's a good one.
As far as sitting at the computer, that's when it comes difficult. So I know I'm going to be up. I'm going to be doing something when I'm, writing a speech for a company or for a group of kids. I'll sit down and I'll do work for 30 minutes. And I know after 30 minutes, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to get up, to do something, to get a snack, and I'm sit back down for 30 minutes, do something, get back up for 15 minutes, figuring out what helps your brain to work the best way that it can. And that's something I've been good at. Yeah. And
thank you for saying that. And you actually, when I ask guests this question, they usually don't quite understand what I'm saying. So kudos to you. You actually answered that perfectly. Two ways. First, how do you gamify your workouts? I do the same thing. A lot of people listen to music. I like to listen to the podcast, because when you're listening to a podcast, you're just so into it. That's all you're thinking about.
So what you're thinking
Before
about.
You know, you're like, I just knocked out 3 sets.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you're learning. Yeah.
You're learning, and you're just being double. You're just getting double in my.
It's called that's actually called habit stacking, which is a term that I got from James Clear, this book called Atomic Habits, which is really awesome. But it's kind of like you're stacking a habit that you're already doing. You're stacking a habit that you want to do onto one that you're already doing, and you're combining them, and it's shooting forward, which is really neat. Because I do the same thing. I don't know a lot of people that listen to podcasts at the gym, so that was cool to hear you.
Yeah.
And then just in terms of just starting small. It doesn't have to be a big, huge thing, but just doing whatever it is to personalize it to your particular, that was the other thing you were saying, brain. And we're all born different. We all have different wants, needs, passions, biorhythms, right? Like you said, you're a big breakfast guy. I'm not a big breakfast guy, but you know what? I'm okay with that. And I have another way to work around that. And I have habit hacks to be able to get the nutrients and supplements and the things that I need. So don't just do it because you see somebody else successful did it. Work it into your own personal way of doing it. And if music is your thing and you feel that same thing you and I were just talking about with music and people, then play music, play your favorite playlist, but just make it personalized to your own is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
By the way, I think you've got somebody that's in love with you. I've seen every time I glance down, Angela, we'll give her a shout out, Rivera. Yeah. God bless you, darling. Yes, Angela, definitely.
Hope you're doing well, Angela. Appreciate you if you're a fan. Thank you so much, Angela. Appreciate that.
Nice. So, dude, this is the other thing we didn't talk about. You're in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So am I.
You're in Chicago? What neighborhood are you at?
I live in Evanston.
Oh, wow.
Where are you?
I'm in West Loop.
Okay, so, all right, I'm going to DM you after. Let's exchange digits and let's grab a drink.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the holidays, but maybe before, or if not, for sure in the new year. Let's get together. You're a cool dude. We got lots to talk about. So
absolutely, yeah, sounds good.
Awesome, man. Well, good chatting. And is there anything else you want to leave the viewers with?
No, man. I think we covered a lot, and everything that I had in my mind there. It was a great interview, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Clay. Great chatting with you, brother. We'll talk
Thanks,
soon.
you as well. Bye.
All right. Take care.
That's it for the 5 Core Life. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button on this video and pound that subscribe button so you get notified when new episodes drop. Also, please fill out the free 5 Core Life Evaluator quiz. It's a great way to get a baseline of where you are in the 5 cores and which of the 5 cores you need support. In addition, you'll get some actionable advice that you can apply and start improving your life in the areas that you need it most. That's it for today's episode of the 5 Core Life Podcast. Have a wonderful day.
Get moving. Gain momentum. Join the movement. Join Emmett by going to moremomentum.com to take a free life evaluator quiz on where you currently stand in each of your 5 cores.